Good morning, YouTube. Welcome back to Morning Wood. I'm Mitchell Cotton, and today we're going to be running through my top 12 running backs for the 2020 NFL season. Now, this is full PPR based. We're just going to jump into it. All these rankings are subject. Obviously, it's what is it, May 18th or something. All my rankings are subject to change throughout the offseason, but as of right now, these are my top 1 through 12 running backs for the 2020 season. Starting off, should be no surprise to anyone, is Christian McCaffrey. The guy is he's a fantasy monster. I mean, he's the only running back in history to record two 100 catch seasons back to back. The guy, you're basically, when you draft Christian McCaffrey, you're getting a running back one and you're getting a wide receiver one. And you can't really say that about many other running backs. There's a couple on here are very good in the receiving game, but Christian McCaffrey stands above the rest, and I got him at 1. 2, Saquon Barkley. Now, 1 and 2 here, the Christian McCaffrey, Saquon, are basically going to be the first 2 picks in what should be every fantasy draft for this season, whether it's Barkley McCaffrey or McCaffrey Barkley. I think most people have McCaffrey ahead of him, but Barkley at 2. Listen, the guy, he suffered his high ankle sprain last year in week 6 or 7 or something. And when he came back, he wasn't the same Saquon Barkley that he was prior to the high ankle sprain, and that we all know the elusive, powerful, fast, and touchdown scoring running back that is a fantasy monster. As the season progressed and the last 3 games of the year, he kind of returned back to form, and he dropped 2 30-point games in the last 3 games. And Saquon Barkley, you know what you're getting when you have him. Arguably, can't speak today, the best running back in the game, and top 3 at least in the receiving game for a running back. On top of that, the Giants went O-line in the first round of the draft this year. Took Andrew Thomas out of Georgia. He's going to fill in the left tackle spot, and he should make that offensive line significantly better. And with that, the running game is obviously going to improve also. The offense as a whole should take a step forward. Daniel Jones coming into his second year, a little better. Darius Slayton on the edge, the rookie receiver last year, should take another step forward. If Evan Ingram can stay healthy, this offense is a very, very dark horse, very quiet offense coming into this season, which could be a very powerful one. And if it's the case, and Daniel Jones does make that step, Saquon Barkley, still can't speak, is going to see the benefit of that. He's going to be the benefactor. So I got Christian McCaffrey at 1, Saquon at 2. Number 3, I got Zeke Elliott. I think everyone's top 3 running backs, for the most part, are going to be the same across the board, because they have the most. For the first thing, they're probably the 3 safest running backs that you can take in the draft, where a bad game for them is 13, 14 points. And if that is their floor, which it is, I mean, McCaffrey last year, his floor, aside from 1 game, was 25 points, especially in full PPR. But anyway, Zeke, this year, the Cowboys, along with the Giants, another offense that it was already potent, it was already good last year, but it's going to get even better this year. With them drafting CeeDee Lamb, Amari Cooper should be hopefully fully healthy. Michael Gallup started coming into his own these past couple seasons. Dak. The offensive line, it got a little bit worse. Travis Frederick retiring, but it's still Zeke. The guy's going to be turning 25 in July. He's still super young. He's super durable. Even though he's been getting 20-plus carries his entire career, he hasn't shown any sort of wear and tear from that, although he does have what would be considered more tread on his tracks, or tread on his tires. Sorry, I still can't fucking speak today. But Christian McCaffrey 1, Barkley 2, Zeke at 3. Now this is kind of where things could be, I guess, left up to discussion of who's kind of 4, 5, 6, and then kind of the tier below it. At 4, I got Dalvin Cook. Now this is for a few reasons. 1, Minnesota is a run-heavy offense. They've made it very clear that they want to be a run-heavy offense. Mike Zimmer does not give a shit. He's going to run the ball right down your throat the entire time, whether it's working or not. Last year it was working to a degree, and then Stephon Diggs and Adam Thielen got pissed off and they started throwing the ball more because I think Kirk Cousins just wanted to save some face. But this year, I don't see any reason for them to go away from running a bunch. Their defense got worse, which, I mean, just kind of the trickle-down effect could be that if they can't rely on their defense as much, that they want to kind of keep the ball out of the offense's hands more. And how do you do that? By killing more clock. Running the ball is going to kill more clock than obviously throwing the ball. So if they do that, he's going to see the benefit of it. And also with them losing Stephon Diggs, and although they drafted Justin Jefferson, but losing Stephon Diggs, their offense, at least from one side of the ball, receiver standpoint, is going to take a hit. And if that's the case, then they're going to lean more on the run, lean more on Dalvin Cook. The only thing about Dalvin Cook, and honestly the only reason why I don't have him at 3 as opposed to 4, is the injury concern. The guy's gotten injured, I think, every year of his career. Last year, thankfully, it was only for, I think, 2 games he missed of the relevant fucking, oh my God, dude, I swear to God. But it was just the last two games of the year that he got hurt. And he's a guy who, if he is healthy, he's ultra productive. Last year, on a point per game basis, not just total fantasy points, but on a point per game basis, he had the second most points per game for a running back out of anyone, only behind Christian McCaffrey, who had one of the most prolific fantasy seasons and just NFL seasons we've ever seen. So I got CMC, Barkley, Zeke, Cook. At 5, I got Alvin Kamara. There's a lot to like about Alvin Kamara. With Drew Brees just getting older and older, he's checking down a lot more. Alvin Kamara, along with McCaffrey and Barkley, is one of the only running backs who can legitimately see and realistically see 7, 8, even double-digit targets per game. He's that good in the receiving game. He's that good of a pass catcher, and he's shown that he can do it. He's also been able to stay healthy most of his career. Now, last year, I get he was out for, I don't even think he was out, but he stays healthy most of his career, and there's not a ton of risk when you go with Alvin Kamara, because when you draft Alvin Kamara, the thing at drafting in the first round, because these 5 guys are going to easily be first-round guys, no doubt, and you want to go for as least risk as possible with those guys, and Alvin Kamara is just that. You know he's going to get his 12, 14 carries a game, but he's going to get 6, 7 targets, leading to 4, 5, 6 catches a game also. He's pretty much looking at 18 to 20 touches, at least 15 to 20, but realistically and hopefully 18 to 20 touches a game, and that's safe. Combined with the fact that he's not injury prone like a Dalvin Cook is, it makes him a great pick. Dalvin Cook, the reason why I have him at 4 is because if he does stay healthy, he has massive upside, maybe even more so than Zeke, where he could be the 3 guy. It's hard to kind of say he'd have more upside than Saquon or McCaffrey, though, because those guys are the 2 fucking best. But I like Alvin Kamara at 5. At 6, I got Joe Mixon. Now, Joe Mixon, I'm much higher on Mixon than I feel a lot of other people are, and there's just not a lot to not like about him. I mean, other than him kind of battling some injuries the first couple seasons of his career, he gets all of the carries there. There's a talk that Giovanni Bernard, backup running back, might get released. If he does, there's like 5 people in the fucking planet that can name who the backup running back will be, which means Mixon is going to get all of the carries. There was literally one game last year where he had 30 carries. Are you kidding? 30 carries. Now, obviously, that's an outlier, but 20 to 25 carries a game, like Zeke, like Saquon, is not out of the realm of possibilities. It can very easily happen. And if it does, with Joe Burrow being there, them drafting T. Higgins, A.J. Green will be back, Tyler Boyd, that offense is going to be a lot better. Significantly better. And if it is, which it should be, Joe Mixon's going to see a lot of the effects of it too. He's also a good pass catcher. Now, he hasn't been known as a pass catcher in his career, but he is a good one. He can catch the ball. He's a good route runner, and he's got reliable hands. Joe Mixon, I'm much higher than I feel like a lot of people are. I already said that. But there's just a lot to like about him this year. I would have no problem taking him at the back end of the first round if I had a later pick. as my running back 1. Not even a little bit of worry. And he's also I mentioned the safety that you need with picks in the top end of the rounds. He's very safe. Like I said, he's going to get the carries. He's going to get a little bit of receiving work, and he stays healthy typically. Now, 7, another guy who I feel like I'm higher on than other people is Josh Jacobs. Also with rankings, I feel like a lot of people are going to have the running backs kind of tiered or ranked in a very similar way. But Josh Jacobs is a guy I have at 7, and I have much higher than everyone else because the rankings year to year, while people want to put who finished at 1, 2, 3 the previous year as 1, 2, 3 the next coming year, very rarely ever happens that way. Now, that's easy to say, but sitting here, it's hard to tell you that I couldn't put Christian McCaffrey and Saquon Barkley as running back 1 and running back 2. Josh Jacobs, however, though, finished last year as a back-end RB1. Now, there's no reason to believe that that's going to decline. They say in the offseason, Mike Mayock and John Gruden come out and say that they want to give him more receiving work. He was a damn good pass catcher at Alabama, and basically when he gets to Oakland, they just stopped throwing him the ball. They would always throw in Jalen Richard or DeAndre Washington in there, and with DeAndre Washington gone, there's like 45, 46, maybe 50 targets, I think it was, that are vacant now. And yeah, Jalen Richard's still there. But let's say Jalen Richard gets his normal workload that he got last year of a few targets a game and very minimal carries. And DeAndre Washington's workload just shifts over to Josh Jacobs. If he has an extra 40 targets a year to go off of, that is massive. I mean, those can turn into, obviously in full PPR, he's got a lot more upside, point per catch, and the yardage after the catch, which he's very good after the catch and after first contact, and the touchdown upside is always going to be there. Josh Jacobs is a guy who I absolutely love, and again, another guy who I wouldn't have a problem taking in the back end of the first round. Now, you probably, in a 12-team league, you'd probably be picked 10, 11, 12, maybe 9, but I love Josh Jacobs a lot this year, and there's not a whole lot of competition outside of Jalen Richard there. Number 8, I got Nick Chubb, a.k.a. Nick Boner, because although I have him at number 8, I love Nick Chubb. This guy is going to be a guy who gets drafted in the first. I'm smiling because I just said Nick Boner, but this is going to be a guy who's pretty much always going to be drafted in the first round, back end of the first round, if not one of the first 2 picks in the second round, and for good reason. The guy's workload is going to show no signs of declining. Now, Kareem Hunt comes in last year after however many games, 8, 10, whatever games it was, from his suspension, and he basically only took away the receiving work. Yeah, he got 5, 6, sometimes 7 carries a game, but that's nothing to worry about in terms of taking away from Nick Boner's full workload. He's going to get the 20 carries a game. He'll get 1 to 2, 3 targets leading into about just as many catches because there's such low ADOT, low average depth of target. Basically, it's all screen stuff. It's all drawn up stuff, scheme stuff for him. But Kareem Hunt, while he does pose somewhat of a threat, isn't enough to take Nick Chubb outside of the top 10 for me. I love Nick Chubb this year. The Browns offense, not to mention, acting like it's fucking minimal. They got a new right tackle and a new left tackle. The offensive line is significantly better. The offense as a whole is better. They get Austin Hooper. They draft DPJ, Donovan Peoples-Jones, in the 4th, 5th, or 6th round or something like that. A great wide receiver out of Michigan. I looked down because I was wearing a Michigan shirt earlier this day, but I took it off, so I was just going to say, oh, Michigan. But anyway, Nick Boner at number 8. Number 9, I got Derrick Henry. Now, Derrick Henry's a guy who some people I've even seen in their top 3, which is ridiculous to me because the new right tackle that the Browns got, Jack Conklin, was the right tackle of the Tennessee Titans. He is a significantly he has a significant impact. I can't fucking speak today. He has a significant impact in the run game more than anything else. Jack Conklin is not a great pass blocker, but he's been a Pro Bowler before because of his run blocking ability. The guy is fantastic in the run game. He pancakes people, runs people over, and shoves people back deep to where basically Derrick Henry's been able to get to the second level over the left side and the right side. He had Taylor Lewan too. But I'm just not as high on Derrick Henry as I feel like other people are because I just think it's inevitable that this offense takes a step back. I mean, Ryan Tannehill, I went through in my QBs video where I ranked the QBs, I'm lower on Tannehill and just the entire Titans offense than I think everyone else is. Now, that doesn't mean that I think Derrick Henry's a bad pick. He's a guy who we know is going to get his 20-plus carries a game. Now, you're looking at next to no pass work, but he's still a good pick. And with it being full PPR, my rankings here, obviously Derrick Henry is lower than if it were a standard or a half PPR because you're getting the points that you're getting from catches are less in those leagues. But this is full PPR, so guys are going to jump them because they're more valuable in the pass game and more valuable overall, hence. So I got Derrick Henry at 9. I like him a lot still, though. I mean, this is kind of the back end of the RB1 range, but that's still an RB1, and he's also going to be a guy who's going to go that back end of the first, sometimes middle of the first, and I don't actually see him fall into the second, but he's going to be a first rounder. You still like him. If he's your RB1, don't sweat about it. He's going to get his carries. He's also another guy who's very, very safe. Like I mentioned, the first few rounds, you want safety. He's about as safe as it gets. The guy is like 6'3", 260. You basically have a mobile fucking oven running down, an oven that runs a 4.5 down the field, and he stays healthy. He's going to get his carries. You know what to expect when you get Derrick Henry is that, all right, if he has a bad game, it's 12, 15 points because whatever it is, he's going to get his 15, his 18, his 20, his sometimes 25-plus carries. And while you don't expect the pass game work, his volume of running is so high that it almost removes the floor that gets lowered because of his pass-catching negligence. I realize that sentence made no fucking sense, but we're just going to move on. 10, I got Aaron Jones. So Aaron Jones finished very high last year. I don't know exactly what number he finished at, but it was almost all due to his touchdown scoring. And his touchdown efficiency rate, basically the rate that he was scoring touchdowns at for the amount of touches that he had, was astronomical. I mean, it's unbelievable. It was like I don't even know what number it is. There was a stat that I saw, but basically what you got to know is that he was scoring touchdowns at a much higher rate than every statistic should say it was. Except for the fact, he was getting the goal line carry, so it's like, yeah, like he's the goal line guy. You expect the goal line guy to get more touchdowns, but he was busting off like 20, 30-yard touchdown runs like nothing very frequently. It wasn't always coming from the goal line. And you think he's going to regress this year? For whatever reason, I have no idea what the Packers front office is doing. They draft A.J. Dillon, another power guy in, the second round, I think. And like I said, that's what he is a power guy. So if they get close to the goal line, maybe they don't want to use Aaron Jones because he has had a little bit of an injury problem in his career. And maybe they want A.J. Dillon to get that goal line work and just reduce the chance of getting injured in a pileup like some players do. It's hard to tell you what the Packers front office is doing because I don't think anyone had a clue what the fuck they were doing in the NFL draft, but I'm a little lower on Aaron Jones than I think everyone else is. The guy who I'm not that low on, though, and I feel like I'm kind of middle of the pack here, is Kenyan Drake. Running back, Arizona Cardinals. When he went to Arizona and when they kind of started to phase David Johnson out because he played like an old man, Kenyan Drake really shined. He had massive games. He had 25-point upside every time he was taking the field because he's getting all the workload. The Cliff Kingsbury offense is a very fast-paced one where they're going to run a lot of plays, they're going to throw the ball a lot, and he's just as good in the passing game as he is in the run game. He's very efficient. I don't even know what you call it. He's just a good pick. He does have risk associated with him, though, because the guy behind him, Chase Edmonds, is very talented, and there's just a lot of mouths to feed in that offense. You got DeAndre Hopkins, Christian Kirk, I'm looking like an idiot right now because, Andy Isabella, Keyshawn Johnson or whatever, Keyshawn Johnson's kid. I think he has the same name. But there's just a lot of mouths to feed in Arizona. So if he doesn't get the work in the passing game that he did at the back end of last year, it's going to hurt him. Now, rounding out the top 12, I got Austin Ekeler. I feel like Austin Ekeler is a very polarizing name in the fantasy industry because some people think that the first 4 games of last year, while Melvin Gordon decided he was too good to play football, are what is going to show up in the 2020 season. And then there's other people who think if you believe that you should be waterboarded because he's not your stereotypical workhorse running back, and people don't think he's going to get the workhorse load because the Chargers have come out, Tom Telesco's come out, Anthony Lynn's come out and said that they want to use Justin Jackson more, which is confusing because they have a very similar build, size, speed, and everything, and Austin Ekeler is, like I said, they're very similar. And then they draft Josh Kelly at the start of the 4th round. Now, draft capital, where, like, what pick teams spend on their player does over time show that the higher a player is drafted, the better they do in fantasy. But we're not worried about Josh Kelly in fantasy. We're worried about what he might take away from Austin Ekeler in fantasy. So basically what I'm trying to say here is I don't think anyone has a clue what is going to be the workload for Austin Ekeler this year. But, I mean, 12 just seems like a safe spot, back-end RB1. If he's 13, 14, high-end RB2, where we don't know exactly what the workload is going to be, whether it's going to be through the roof, kind of like it was last year, and he's getting 10 targets a game, which he was sometimes, and scoring touchdowns left and right because he was getting all the work, or if they're going to try to switch it to a committee, which is the Satan of fantasy football, because then we don't have workhorse guys, and it's very frustrating. Yeah, you'll notice all these guys in the top 12 are the guy on their team. Christian McCaffrey, the guy. Saquon Barkley, the fucking guy with huge legs. Zeke Elliott, the guy who eats a lot. And wears bikinis and crop tops. Dalvin Cook, the guy with dreadlocks. Alvin Kamara, the shorter guy with dreadlocks, but still the guy. Joe Mixon, the guy. Nick Boner. He's like the one guy you could say, do we know if he's the guy? But we do know he's the guy because as we saw at the back end of last year, Kareem Hunt ain't going to creep into his workload too much. Derrick Henry, the fucking guy. I mean, the guy's a freaking boulder out there. He'll run your ass over. Aaron Jones, again. Well, actually, I don't even know. I'm kind of contradicting myself here with some of these guys. But Aaron Jones, sort of a committee. I mean, Jamal Williams had big games last year, but for the most part, Aaron Jones is the guy. And he's definitely the RB1 in that. Like, there's no question about whether or not, like, is Aaron Jones going to be the RB2 or RB3 of this team this year? It's not like the 49ers where it's like Tevin Coleman has a big game one week, and then next week, who the hell is Jeff Wilson? Well, I don't know, but he just dropped 30 points, and then Raheem Mostert comes out of everyone's ass and starts dropping 20-point games and ruining everyone's plans. It's not like that. Aaron Jones is going to be the guy on the Packers. Kenyan Drake, again, the guy. And then lastly, Austin Ekeler, we believe is going to be the guy. All these guys are basically, I said guys so many times here. Everyone probably just wants to hit me in the face now. But all these guys are the running backs who are going to be the number one on their team, the undisputed number one. Not because as you get, more teams are slowly moving towards the running back by committee, where they have multiple guys that just rotate in on any down. And for those guys, it's tough to bank on them for fantasy because how are you going to throw him in as your RB1 or your RB2 if there's another guy behind him that could, at any game, just supersede him and take more carries or workload? But, yeah, so just went through the guys who I think are going to finish as the RB1s this year. And if you guys wouldn't mind hitting that subscribe button, hitting the like button, and trying to support us. I say us like it's more than just me sitting in my room. It's not. It's just me. But hitting that subscribe button, clicking the like button would be really cool. Drop a comment down there if you want to tell me that you agree with me or tell me to go eat a dick because I suck. Anything's fine. I'll respond. I'll joke around. If you guys want to hit me up, please do. I'll put my socials in the description. But, yeah, Morningwood, stay hard.